Leaving my long-term corporate career to start a business as an online coach has not been without a few bumps in the road. And I'm also not ashamed to admit that there was a few sleepless nights and a few tears shed along the way. However, there are also some really, really amazing things that I'm now getting to celebrate, which is the fact that I've got more freedom than I ever thought possible. I get to spend more time with my son, my husband, and just do amazing family things, go to sports day, like never miss a nativity play, all of that sort of thing. I never was able to do that in my corporate role. And I'm making three times as much money, which again, when I first left my corporate role, I didn't think was possible. So there are lots and lots of good reasons why I can now look back on the last 9 years and be super proud of myself and super grateful for where I now get to be. Now, if you are just thinking about leaving corporate, maybe you've already left, maybe you're straddled between a corporate role and starting an online business, this video is going to reveal to you what the journey actually looked like for me. I'm going to share the ups and the downs, the emotional bits, the strategic bits, the bits that you probably are really wanting to know, which is how you're going to sign your first few clients, how you're going to build the business and really get things off the ground. And I've been feeling really cool to make this video for a while now for you. And I've got so much to say. I've made a few notes on my notepad. I've got so much to share with you that I may actually need to chop this into a few different videos. Okay. So I don't want to give you like hours and hours of video material to watch. I want to keep this really digestible and very actionable for you. Okay. So maybe you want to be watching this with a notepad or maybe put your earbuds in and listen to it while you're doing something else, but know that you can come back and watch this later. And if this is the first time that you found my YouTube channel, please do give it a like and a subscribe, because I'm sure that all the other videos that I share on how to build a business, how to scale, how to market, how to message your services, they're all going to be super, super valuable and helpful for you. Okay, so for this video, I want to start off by sharing what some of the big questions were that I asked myself when I first left my corporate role. And just to give you a little bit of context, I was in one organization for 17 years. And when I first joined that organization, I joined as a sales administrator. I'd never had a sales role in my life. And when I left that organization 17 years later, I was UK sales director. So I'd worked my way up from sales admin into field sales, telesales, sales management, regional director, UK sales manager, UK sales director. I had a team of 57 staff, which spanned the whole of the UK, including Ireland. We had 13,500 customers, which is a lot. And I looked after a budget of 100 million. So my team had to bring in just under 2 million every single week. And I was responsible for new business, for retention, and for upsell as well. So I had a new business team. I had a field team, a telesales team. I had all the teams. I had middle management, team leaders, all the things. Yeah, it was a very grown up job. And even when I describe it to you now, I kind of look back and think, wow, did I actually look after £100 million budget? That's pretty incredible. But I did, and I did it for a while. And yeah, after 17 years, I was ready to leave. I'd had my son. I'd already been asked to miss his first birthday, which I was mortified by. I had to watch his first step on video, hear his first word on video. And when I would be at home, when I wasn't traveling, if my son fell over, he would run to daddy. He wouldn't run to me because I just wasn't home enough. Our relationship was, it was there, I won't say it was non-existent, but it wasn't great. And I knew that I wasn't being the mum that I wanted to be. I wasn't being the wife I wanted to be. I was barely home, and it was because I was selling my soul to corporate. And so I left that business. It was very amicable. We had, an exit agreement that was over 9 years ago now. And I'm very grateful to everything that I learnt whilst in that corporate role, but I'm also more grateful to be where I am now. So the big questions that I asked myself when I first left are my skills really transferable? There was this little voice in my head, and it seems crazy now, but there was this little voice in my head saying, were you only promoted as many times as you were just because you were the best of a bad bunch? Were you only promoted because your boss liked you? Was it just that you were in the right place at the right time? I doubted my value. I doubted that my skills were going to be in demand outside of that business. And when I think back now, that was a crazy thing to think because I added so much value to my team, to my peers, to my boss, and it's crazy to think that I had those doubts, but I did. So maybe you've sometimes wondered that very same thing. I've got a very secure role right now. My business respect me. They admire the skills that I bring. But are my skills transferable if I exit my corporate role? And I'm here to tell you your skills are 100% transferable. It may just be that you need to rethink them or repackage them in some way. But I guarantee you are an expert. You have valuable experience to share with many, 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 many people. Your skills are absolutely transferable. So don't fall into that trap that I did. Another question that I asked myself is, and I wouldn't ever say that I was particularly money motivated, I was more success motivated. But another question I asked myself is, will I ever earn as much? My salary was 130K. I had an amazing company car. I had, a laptop, an iPad, my mobile phone. It was all company related. And so my life was embroiled in the company. And I did wonder if I would ever feel that level of financial success again. I live down in Devon in the southwest of the UK. It's not as an affluent area as maybe like London or Manchester, Birmingham. And I thought, I want to get out of this career so that I'm not traveling all the time. But if I stay local to where I live, where there's not as much wealth, will I earn as much money? Like, will there be jobs for me? And I really did doubt that I would ever earn as much money. I thought that if I started a business, I would earn less than if I went and got another career, literally started in another business again and worked my way up. And then I was like, Rachel, what are you thinking? Like, I was trying to talk myself, I think, out of starting a business by telling myself that I would earn more in a job than I would as a business owner. That is not true. That is totally not true. You can earn more as a business owner than you can in a salaried role. I firmly stand by that fact. You will earn more as a business owner. So don't tell yourself, if you start to get cold feet about starting a business, don't tell yourself that, oh, I'll just go get a job, it'll be easier and I'll earn more money, because you won't. Another question that I ask myself is, will I really enjoy having more time? So, I was working over 80 hours a week, some really long days, lots of travel, lots of hotel stays. I had very little time to myself. And yet I still found myself doubting, okay, I'm going to start this business, but will I really enjoy having more time? I'm starting the business to get more time, but do I really want it? Is that what's going to make me feel happy? Yeah, so that was another big question I asked. Then the other question I asked, and you may be able to relate to this one too, is, will I be missed? Will my teammates in my corporate role, will they miss me? And will I miss them? How's that really going to feel? Right? These are some of the big questions that were going around in my head. And there was a real roller coaster of emotions for me as I exited that business. I was on a 3-month notice period. So I had a garden leave as well. And that 3 months it felt long. It felt really, really long. And I was asking myself all these questions. And then once that garden leave was over and I was able to go and start networking and start figuring out what services would I create, what offers would I create, how would I really help people. I started off not really having a clue, I knew I wanted to start a business, but I didn't really have a clue what my offers would be and how I would help. I started thinking about going into property. I started thinking about buying an already successful business so that I could just take it over. Then I realized where my gift was. And I was out networking at a law firm's networking event. And a few people that I was chatting to said, what do you love doing? Like, what's your skill set? What did you do in your corporate role? And I said, I was a sales director. So they said, so you can teach people how to sell? I said, yeah, I could teach anybody how to sell. I've been doing it that long. Like, it's what I eat, sleep, and breathe. I could teach anybody, even if they don't have any experience of sales, I could teach them how to sell. And they said, well, would you be able to go in and like work with someone's team and get the team functioning, build a team strategy, help them like make outbound calls, help them respond to inbound calls? Would you be able to help a team to like get out there in the field in cars, go out and visit customers and help them sell more? And I was like, yeah, that's my job. And they were like, well, that's what you need to do. You need to start a sales training business. So that's what I did. I started a sales consultancy where I would go in and consult with managers, owners, heads of department. I would go and like uncover what was really going on in their team and then help them to build a strategy and then implement that strategy. And I would sell my time based on retainers. So, like, 5 days a month, I'll work with that business. Or I would sell like day rate type stuff, like a workshop for a full day where I would go in and teach for a full day, and that would be the main job. And so you may be thinking about how your skills could transfer from corporate and starting a consultancy where you consult from a strategic level and go and train and implement that strategy is a really easy way to literally pick up where you left off, because you are essentially going into those businesses that would be your clients as your old role, but as an outside version of it. So instead of paying you a salary, they just pay for your time. Okay, that's what I did. And in doing that, there was a real roller coaster of emotion. And I remember as I was like coming out of that garden leave and I was going out networking and starting to really like flesh out what my role was going to be, these emotions that were coming up was, I remember one of them was linked to my inbox, because in my corporate role I'd had so many emails coming in and suddenly my inbox was tumbleweed. And I remember thinking, why does nobody want me? Like, why does nobody need me? I'm not being asked any questions. I'm not being asked to like just jump on this conference call. Can you just attend this meeting? Can you chair this meeting? I wasn't being asked to do anything. And that lack of being asked to do something made me feel unvaluable, made me feel very unimportant, unworthy, unloved, even. And I remember really, really struggling with that. And so if you are having those feelings, know that they will pass, know that they are temporary, okay? They really are temporary, because it wasn't very long before my inbox was filled again with, can you send us a proposal for this? And can you tell us how you would tackle this challenge? Or, little Johnny isn't meeting his target. What should we do? So it wasn't long before my inbox was filled with questions and requests again. And that will be exactly the same for you too. Okay. But I don't want you to feel the feelings that I felt for as long as I felt them. I really did feel unworthy for quite some time. And I don't want that for you, right? So I want you to just know that that is absolutely temporary. So I remember feeling like I've made this decision to start a business so that I can decide how to spend my time, so that I can set my own boundaries, I can choose who I want to work with. But am I really going to get to do what I love? Am I really going to get to work with the people I want to work with, to hang out in the company that I want to be in? Am I going to get to do my best work? I would ask myself those questions over and over. And when you first start your business, of course, you start feeling like, well, all the proposals that I get asked to write, I'm gonna say yes to all of them. If they want to work with me, I will just say yes, because I want to make the money. I need to hit my financial goals. And it was a real milestone for me when I was able to say no, that I was offered a piece of work and I was able to say, I don't think it's a good fit. That was a real milestone for me, and it will be for you too, okay? So if you've been having any of the same doubts where you've been like, am I really going to get to do my best work? You will, and you will get to choose it as well, okay? The other big thing that I know that you're probably going through is a feeling of, I'm starting from the bottom, like I don't want to start from the bottom. I'm a very capable woman. I know if you've come from a corporate career that you are an A-star woman, you're a high flyer, you're ambitious. And that's going to mean that you do very well as an entrepreneur, but you are going to have to go through this kind of like transitional period where you feel like, I don't know anything anymore. The rules have changed. Because from your corporate role, you knew all the rules, you knew all the people, you knew how to get the best out of the team, you knew how to go into board meetings and like share your point. You knew how to raise a challenge in the most healthy way. You knew how to speak to your line managers and their managers. You had it nailed in corporate, just the same as I did. And then you come into starting a business and you're like, oh, the rules are different. Everything works in a different way. I'm starting at the bottom. And I want you to know you're not starting at the bottom. You are not a newbie. You still have all the same skills, all the same experiences you had before. It's just that you're getting to shift the way that you share your value. So I want you to start to see your value and your talent and your expertise through a new lens. You aren't starting from the bottom. You haven't had your skills taken from you. You haven't had your expertise, your experience removed. It's still yours. It's still yours. So you're not starting from the bottom. You're just shifting the way that you articulate who you are, the way that you articulate what you do, the way that you share the value that you bring. You're just shifting it. Okay. It's not gone. It's just different. Okay. And that is absolutely okay. That's called growth. Yeah. Welcome to growth. You're now, like if you're just starting in your business, you're now about to go through all these different transitional levels that are super exciting. But I'm not going to lie, I struggled with some of them, like particularly getting my first few clients. It was like, I've just come from a bloody sales role. How is it that I'm struggling to sign my first few clients? So I'll tell you in a minute how I did sign my first few clients, but I just want to remind you that you are not starting from scratch. You are now in a position to set and honor your own boundaries. That is a great place to be. Congratulations for being here, right? You are able to set your boundaries. You are able to honor your own boundaries. You are able to set your price. You are able to set your own strategy. Yeah, you are able to choose who you work with. You are able to choose who you hire. You are able to create all your own rules. You're able to do it your way. Okay. That is a really great place to be. So just take a minute. Take a minute to just breathe that in. You're in a position where you no longer are dictated to about how you spend your time, about what goes into your calendar and what comes out of your calendar. You are no longer dictated to about holidays, lunch breaks, time off, who you hire, how you work, what the strategy looks like. You no longer have somebody telling you all those things. One of, all the ladies who work with me inside my mastermind, I'm always saying this to them, your business, your rules. Your business, your rules. Okay. So if you're starting an online coaching business, a mentorship business, a consultancy, any form of like service business where you are the commodity, your skills, your expertise are the thing that people are investing in, then you get to set all your own boundaries, all your own rules, all your pricing, all your strategy. You get to set it all. And that is a great place to be. Yeah, that is a great place to be. So just breathe that in for a minute and feel happy with where you've arrived at. Now, I know that probably the burning question that you've got is, okay, well, Rach, you've shared the ups and the downs, the roller coaster, the questions that you asked yourself. How did you get your first clients? Well, it was really quite straightforward how I got my first clients. So what I did was I thought about what is the result that I can really help people to create? And what is the way, what is the method that I want to use in order to create that? So I started off in my sales consultancy by selling one-to-one coaching and selling like lunch and learns, like a 2 hour lunchtime sales session, knowing that if I could just get into a business for 2 hours, which was very low investment for them, very low risk, it wasn't like we were taking their staff away from their jobs for days on end. It was just a 2 hour lunchtime training session. And if anybody in that session needed one-to-one coaching, they would book that separate. So I started with those two offers and I went out networking, and when people asked me, oh, hi, what's your name? What do you do? I would literally say that. I would say, "Hi, I'm Rachel. I run a sales consultancy. I go into businesses that want to make more money through their sales team, and I work with their sales team or their sales individuals to help identify blind spots, identify performance issues, and how we can really maximize the revenue that they make." And the minute I started introducing myself in that really clear, really succinct way that was very focused on the result that they wanted, inquiries started coming in. So I didn't fall into the trap that a lot of people will try and teach you, that I've got to give this big spiel about me and my backstory. At that point, nobody wants to hear it. They want to hear about the value that you bring. Now, what was the number one thing that I could do to help them? Increase their sales revenue. And what business doesn't want that, right? So I knew that when I was introducing myself, it was going to be met with, "Oh, interesting. How do you do that?" And so rather than stand there and give them a hypothetical how, I would say, "Well, why don't we have a coffee? You can tell me a little bit about your team. And if I can offer some support, I will. If you want me to come in and have a chat with the team, I will." And so I networked. I networked hard, you know. I went to the, breakfast, lunches, dinners. I went to all the things and I got to know lots and lots and lots of businesses in my local area. Then, of course, that was a face-to-face business. Then, of course, COVID happened and I had to migrate my business online. So I had to do that all over again in the online space, which meant using social media, platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram. And that was where, my learning started again, like I could go out networking, that was not a problem, but learning how to use social media to call in clients was a whole different ball game. So again, the way that I started with that was by networking. I would share content every day, people that commented, people that liked, people that, engaged with me, I would engage back with. I would invite them onto like 20-minute, 30-minute coffee calls to get to know each other. I would invite them onto market research calls so that I could ask them some questions about, how I could support them. And I started off just selling, sales skills training. But then once I was able to sign clients in the online space, then I was able to monetize that result. So then I was able to say, "I can now help you sign clients in the online space because I've just figured out how to do it. And I know that you want to do it too." So I sold coaching and group coaching programs, helping other women entrepreneurs to get clients in the online space. Now, that was back in 2020 that I started doing that. So I'm now like 5 years into that journey. And when it comes to selling in the online space, they call me the online sales queen for a reason. I teach launching, I teach funnel building, I teach content, I teach messaging, which is a huge part of how we sign clients in the online space. Okay. So that's a little bit about my journey. I don't want to bore you too much with my story, but of course, if you want to hear more of it, I'm happy to share more of it. The one real big thing that I want you to take from this video is that your skills are transferable. Any feelings of self-doubt that you've got, or maybe unworthiness that you have right now, is temporary. I want you to remember it's temporary. And I want you to keep your eye on the prize, because the prize is, yes, you can make more money as a female entrepreneur. You can make lots of money as an online coach. You can hit 100K, 200K, 500K in your business, okay, a year. So I don't know what your corporate salary is, but I know that you can double it. I've trebled it, and I know that you could go beyond that, okay? But the real prize, the real eye on the prize moment for you is freedom. It's you being able to command the way that you spend your time. You get to craft your calendar. You get to decide who you work with, when you work, how you work. It's all your decision, okay? So if you are feeling any of those emotional ups and downs, know that they're temporary. Know that you've got somebody now that you can reach out to for support. I am going to create a second video for you where I'm going to teach you, like really how to build your business, how to sell yourself. Because one of the big things that I see with female entrepreneurs that have come to work with me after being in corporate and said, "Rachel, you've done the corporate journey. Can you help me to now package my services and be able to sell them easily and effortlessly?" I've now seen many, can't speak, many corporate women fall into the same traps. And those same traps are blocks to your success. They stop you from being able to sell your services in the most powerful way. So I'm going to not keep talking on this video. I'm actually going to do a second video for you where I dive into how you can start to sell your services effortlessly as a woman who's come out of corporate and hasn't had to sell your services for a while, how you can start to do that on social media, how you can do that through content, through masterclasses. So come join me in the next video and yeah, let's give you a sales plan to follow.